churches in different type of Easter services. EMTV drivers and crew arrested. And 2,000 more dead in the US.
This is National EMTV News with Jeremy Mogi.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Sunday's news. For many years, Easter has been celebrated, but amidst this global pandemic, it is now celebrated with more depth and insight. Members of the Finnish Pentecostal Church at 8 Mile gathered to celebrate it in solidarity. Church pastor Norman Bury also used a few minutes at the end of the service to do awareness for COVID-19. And church member Marianne Rima says while thousands around the world are dying from COVID-19, she is thankful to be alive and celebrate Christ's resurrection this Easter.
Less than 30 church members gathered to not only celebrate Christ's resurrection, but also the fact that they have another day to live in good health. In the midst of many uncertainties, Finnish Pentecostal Church Pastor Norman Bury says, "Let us be thankful for what we have, and that is eternal life."
Also this la day bakam but sambla staff insala big bla problem big bla situation or life long all also sambla staff insala mog all na looking this la day but lo mina all congregation lo yena all community na 8 Mile Papua New Guinea me looking most it's privilege na hona also big bla God me still activate na still fresh on lo life lo me bla and
Church member Marianne Rema says living in a social setting, there is so much misinformation and our people need the facts. She has been working hard to educate her family and community about COVID-19.
One something to me realize mosam this la sige me the country blame me change him some kind social some lifestyle blame Papua New Guinea na. Yes, me some throughout the radio me aram you catch up blame me na passing blame la way blah how we live. You miss stop on them, family want them, only pass want them this la kind but this la sige me come and me changing some la look blame me.
Miss Rema says it's a challenge getting the message across when people have their own perceptions. But today she is reminded again that Christ has conquered death.
You must focus, spiritually you must focus na to. Yes, true MGS and me reason I'm alive. Na me must celebrate na to thank you Lord God. And me look out me through on this plan. Sickness and me come in global, let me look out in the country. Not as a family, as a community, but as a country.
The church service had less than 30 people present, and they will have to get used to these new changes, such as no shaking of hands and social distancing.
We had to come. We had to come and celebrate. But at the same time, we play respecting laws that the government put forward, this COVID-19, C90, where we must social distancing, we want defense, blah blah. Social distancing, we must kiss wisdom at the same.
Church Pastor Norman Bury also used a few minutes at the end of the service to do awareness on COVID-19. Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
With some Catholic churches in other countries on lockdown due to COVID-19, it is a privilege for Catholics in Papua New Guinea to celebrate the traditional Easter Sunday Mass with other members of the congregation. For a small Catholic community in Port Moresby, they have celebrated Mass, but this time under government directives to have social distancing and hygiene practices in place, something worth getting used to.
For the faithful Catholics around the world, today, Easter Sunday, marks the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. And in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, a different approach to the age-old tradition of Easter Sunday Mass. This time, the government directives have found their way into the church, and social distancing and hand sanitization, even temperature checks are part of Sunday morning Mass. For the parishioners of Mary Queen of the Pacific Parish, North Waigani, instead of one Mass for the whole congregation as per tradition on Easter Sunday, they have to have 6 Masses starting from 7 a.m. with the last Mass at 6 p.m. This is to cater for under 50 churchgoers per mass.
This year at Mary Queen of the Pacific, SF really organized and practiced the social distancing, the washing of hands, and the temperature that take of every faithful Catholic that comes to church, and the sitting position of 1 meter is been applied here in the church. So we have really practiced that social distancing during our mass, and we have 50 max people that attend church.
For parishioner Grace Molita, it was a privilege to attend Mass, with some Catholics across the world having to be on lockdown because of COVID-19.
Privileged and blessed that we managed to have service to celebrate the death and the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. It's a time really for us to reflect on our lives, to repent, and to come more closer to God.
Before Easter, Catholics go through Lent, 40 days of preparation for Easter. This includes fasting and the giving of alms, a pinnacle of the Catholic faith. All this ends on Easter Sunday with the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Because the Lord has suffered through this process, so we too will go through the process of this suffering, and we rise up with Him on Easter Sunday. When He is risen, the tomb is open, and we rise with Jesus as well on Sunday to celebrate the risen Lord.
With the extended state of emergency, it looks like the new changes will be part of the church a little longer than expected. Phyllis Sukina, National EMTV News.
Police from the Morbe Provincial Command yesterday arrested 18 drivers and bus crews for defying a state of emergency order issued by the police commissioner on Thursday. Police stationed at Nadzab said the bus drivers continued to transport passengers despite an order for public transportation to stop over the Easter weekend.
At a checkpoint at Nadzab, a small contingent of policemen and women tried to discourage the movement of large groups of people. For 2 weeks, police have been carrying out an awareness campaign, letting people know that there could be further restrictions to transport and movement.
Move. Social distancing, huh?
Then came the state of emergency order issued Thursday by Police Commissioner and Controller David Manning. Public transport banned during the Easter weekend. The controller's orders were the least of their concerns. None of the PMV operators paid attention to the risks of COVID-19 or the social distancing call. And with the lack of cooperation by PMV owners, police are clearly frustrated. Yesterday, 18 bus drivers and crew members were arrested, their keys confiscated and their buses impounded. This is going to continue. Frustration is building up on both sides. Law enforcers stretched to their limits and an uncooperative public refusing to obey SOE orders from the top. At Mutsing, further up the road, health teams and police have been working non-stop since the lockdown. Every vehicle is noted, every driver given the COVID-19 prevention message. Until a few days ago, the team here didn't have personal protection equipment, but they do now, some of it at least. But without temperature guns, they're unable to do the tiny bit more to check. Part of the Mutsing police station has been converted to a screening center, and after checking persons of interest, they will be referred to the Angao Hospital. Scott Waide, National MTV News, Leh.
You're watching National MTV News. More stories after the break. Welcome back to the news. With Papua New Guinea preparing itself for the COVID-19 pandemic, partnership in building infrastructure to help in the fight against the global pandemic is of great importance. Governor of NCD Paul Pakop was praised by Deputy Prime Minister Stephen Davis and Health Minister Jelta Wong on his efforts, along with the NCD COVID-19 task force team, in ensuring an isolation facility for COVID-19 was built to cater not only for the capital city but for the country.
NCD Governor Powers Parkop has opened the doors to the newly established COVID-19 isolation facility to the rest of Papua New Guinea. He made this known on Friday that the facility at the Ritaflin Netball Courts is the first of its kind in Papua New Guinea to isolate and treat cases of COVID-19 in the shores of Papua New Guinea.
The facility is ready. The provinces will not have this type of facility. We are privileged to have this type of facility, and we are going to look after it and make sure that it's here, not just for our people in our capital city, but Deputy Prime Minister and ministers, all of you at the back. I can't mention each and every one of you, but I acknowledge and thank you all. Be assured that this facility is here for the rest of our country, should it be needed.
Minister for Health and HIV Jalta Wong, who was present at the opening of the facility, was impressed with the public-private partnership which led to the facility becoming a reality.
And see what NCD has done and provided for the capital city, and even for outsiders, even for other provinces if they have to come here. It's very fulfilling. I'm humbled to see what your plans and programs and the amalgamation of public and private together.
Similar words were echoed by the Deputy Prime Minister Stephen Davis, who said the facility was a milestone and showed that the provincial governments can pull through resources and help in efforts during a crisis period.
What we see today is a milestone. The Minister for Health has expressed the gratefulness of those of us in the national government. That acknowledges our faith in the leadership at the sub-national level, our faith in your ability, Governor, and all the governors of our provinces to gather together the resource, to gather together the people, and to respond in the peculiar circumstances and challenges that you identify and you prioritize in the different areas of our great nation.
Felix Sukina National, EMTV News.
A Land Cruiser loaded with Biltong bags has been impounded by NCD Central Division Police after it found a police officer was behind the wheel of the vehicle. A white 5-door Land Cruiser loaded with several bags of betel nut was chased from Baruni into Morata and impounded by members of the dog unit and Waigani police today. Some bystanders at Morata who witnessed the unfolding drama said the vehicle was driven by a policeman who abandoned the vehicle and fled on foot into the settlement. According to NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Pero Endrano, the nuts were smuggled across the sea by dinghy operators and illegal traders from Central into the vicinity of Papa Lealea and Parabara villages. Police acting on the tip-off chased the vehicle from Baruni before impounding it at the Morata Community Hall. The vehicle will be impounded until the policeman is identified and charged accordingly for breaching SOE laws. The directives, emergency orders and restrictions put in place with the approval of the State of Emergency Controller are to protect the citizens of Papua New Guinea from contracting COVID-19 and to stop it from spreading within the country. 14 emergency orders have been issued since the SOE began to assist with the whole government approach. The recent order being the seizure of aircraft goods, vehicles and perishable items. And at Cora with this report.
As PNG approaches the end of the first week of the 2-month extension of the state of emergency, there has been review of the emergency orders issued under the 14-day nationwide lockdown with necessary revocations and issuance of the new emergency orders to allow the progress under the following strategies. These include the continued enforcement and enhanced border security, economic recovery and sustainability, and a return to the new normal. Concerns have been raised on the domestic travel fronts, and while restrictions have been lifted on domestic travel for certain airports, the controller is yet to finalize the approval process. The controller has called for patience as this is a process not to be taken lightly, and a team has been designated to have the system up and running by Tuesday, April 14th. The call center for kids since Thursday this week has had a total of over 2,000 calls. Of these calls, 16 cases were assessed to be responded by the rapid response team. The total number of calls to the call center to date is 33,798 and continues to grow. The security front has had to deal with a number of concerns regarding complaints of personnel conduct. Numerous calls have been made to the call center about police conduct, and a dedicated line will be established within the call center to call should members of the public experience any harassment by police officers or any member of the COVID-19 Joint Agency Task Force. PNG Defence Force troops have been deployed to assist health teams, rapid teams and church teams in Vanimo, Wewak, Daro and Kiunga. A reserve capacity exists in Wewak, Ley and Port Moresby, and this is to allow for troops to rotate at a needs basis and deal with the national security situation and attend to business as usual. Anet Kora, National EMTV News.
The Institute of Business Studies University has been running classes normally through online sessions. An assessment after the 14-day lockdown period revealed that 92% of IBSE students are effectively using e-technologies. To facilitate the continuation of studies for students, the academic delivery was initiated through an online mode. This is to offer collaborative sessions, upload lecture videos, study materials, discussion notes, submission of assignments, conducting of quiz examinations, revision examinations, and referencing. In addition to that, unit lecturers also created WhatsApp groups to disseminate information and to clarify doubts instantly. The IBSU management will support the fully paid students by providing B-Mobile data bundles of 10 gigabytes for the next 2 months to complete Session 1 of 2020. Turning overseas, the Vatican has welcomed the Australian High Court decision to overturn Cardinal George Pell's conviction for child sex abuse. It is unlikely Cardinal Pell will return to any role at the Vatican, although there is little doubt he has the support of Pope Francis.
A time for reflection. COVID-19 means the Pope's morning Mass is live streamed, but his message was clear without mentioning a name.
I would like to pray today for all those people who suffer unjust sentences.
In a tweet came a calling for joint prayer for all those persons who suffer due to an unjust sentence because someone had it in for them.
Pope Francis has always stood by Cardinal Pell to wait to see the whole legal process to finish, to conclude, and I think many in the Vatican did have concerns and doubts over the case against Cardinal Pell. Obviously, many people in the Vatican will be quite relieved by this news.
In a statement, the Vatican said it had always had confidence in the Australian judicial system. It also said it was committed to preventing and pursuing all cases of abuse against minors.
I do, though, feel it's not a moment for triumphalism by anyone in the Church. Obviously, this is a very difficult case.
A case that placed the Catholic Church under global pressure amid allegations it had turned a blind eye to the abuse of minors. The Pope acted last year, holding a bishops' conference to address clerical sexual abuse.
Pope Francis has really made it a priority of his papacy after earlier in the papacy maybe not being as strong as some had hoped. The past year and a half, he's been incredibly strong.
But for survivors of church abuse around the world, little solace can be found.
Survivors are really stunned by this. They're really traumatized by this. They're deeply confused by it. I just really want to encourage survivors, as hard as it is a moment like this, not to give up on the justice systems around the world.
Cardinal Pell's position at the Vatican was filled late last year. His return there in any official capacity is highly unlikely. The question now is, will the church-led investigation into allegations against him still continue?
The Vatican had announced that the doctrinal congregation would be pursuing a case. It later said that case was on hold until the Australian court system finished its results. Now we don't know.
There are still some decisions to be made.
The coronavirus pandemic has infected 1.7 million people and killed more than 107,000 around the world. There's huge debate over the use of personal protective equipment, especially who should use it and when. But how we use some of the gear is also vital. If we are not doing it properly, we could be putting ourselves at higher risk. Here are some do's and don'ts.
From doing the weekly shop to walking down the street, personal protective equipment, or PPE, has become this year's accessory. New guidance this week from the World Health Organization says healthy people out in public don't need to wear face masks, but some experts are in favor.
It's a good safety procedure to wear a mask when you go outside, when you know that you can be exposed.
By wearing a mask, you can protect yourself and you can protect the other person. And that's the message that we should be driving out there.
If you are going to wear one, wear it properly, or you could put yourself at greater risk.
There are key things that you should do. Before touching your mask, you should wash your hands. Fit the mask to your face and adjust over your mouth and chin. And once it's on, leave it on. Don't put it under your chin and don't touch the front to avoid contamination.
You're exposing yourself to the viral pathogens. So you just don't know, what has accumulated or what is on the cover of that mask.
How you take it off is just as important. Take it off using the straps and don't touch the front of the mask. If it's a single-use one like this, it goes straight in the bin. If it's homemade, it goes in the wash.
Then wash or sanitize your hands. The World Health Organization says medical masks should be reserved for healthcare workers. While this isn't advised,
it's just a simple thong, everyday thong.
There are easy ways to make your own. Dr. Wong says any mask will help protect you and others from you.
It's a no-brainer. We spit when we talk.
This video under UVC light demonstrates how a mask captures saliva droplets. As for gloves,
so gloves probably is a little bit of an overkill and can even be a dangerous thing.
Especially if you're using them more than once. The best thing you can do is wash your hands as often as possible and keep your distance.
More stories making headlines overseas when we come back. Welcome back. Australia's death toll has risen to 58 with a recent death recorded in Tasmania. There are over 6,000 infected people, of which 3,265 have recovered. Meanwhile, Australians abroad have arrived in Melbourne after being stranded on a coronavirus-stricken cruise ship off of Uruguay.
There were cheers and clapping as the plane touched down, ending more than 2 weeks of uncertainty for the travellers. The 96 Australians and 16 New Zealanders were aboard the Greg Mortimer, which docked in Montevideo after being turned away multiple times. Returning Australians will begin a 2-week quarantine, while New Zealanders are being transferred directly to a charter flight to undergo quarantine in their home country. The majority of people on board the ship have tested positive for coronavirus, and 2 Australians remain in intensive care in Uruguay. A flight to repatriate Australians stranded in Cambodia is scheduled to depart the capital tonight. The aircraft heading to Sydney has the capacity to carry 210 passengers. The Cambodian government has agreed to relax movement restrictions between provinces so Australians outside Phnom Penh can take the flight. Cambodia has 120 confirmed cases of the virus.
More than 500,000 people have now been infected by the coronavirus in the United States. 20,000 people have died from the virus. New York State alone has more cases.
roughly 2,000 people have been dying every day for the past 4 days straight. Now, the reason that this death toll is rising so quickly comes down to that lag time that we have discussed before between when someone is infected to someone becoming really unwell and having to present to hospital and potentially be ventilated. So, of course, that's what we're seeing happen here over the last few days. We're hearing from experts who are saying that the curve is being crunched and that the spread or the rate of spread of this virus is being slowed, but only 1% of the population here has actually been tested. So America is most certainly not out of the woods just yet. If we go to New York specifically, they've had another tragic day in terms of deaths. They've had fewer than the day before, but still 783 people dying there in just 24 hours. We've heard again from the state's Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's given another press conference. He's done this now for 40 days straight. Today he had some good news where he spoke about how hospitalisations and also the number of people requiring intensive care has been dropping on a 3-day rolling average, which is very good. But he has expressed distress at the number of fatalities happening in his state. Let's take a listen.
The number is somewhat stabilizing, but it is stabilizing at an horrific rate. 783 people, 777, 799. These are just incredible numbers, depicting incredible loss and pain.
The number of people who have died in the UK in a single day after contracting the coronavirus has risen by more than 900 for the second day. It comes as the British Medics Association issued a stark warning that many medics are unable to access personal protective equipment. 917 people have died in hospital in the past 24 hours. That number does not include people who have died in care homes or in the community.
A human cost on a scale unimaginable even a few short weeks ago. And the warning is that we're not through it yet. That more families, like that of Doreen Hunt, who was buried last week, will suddenly find themselves in the grip of COVID-19.
The risk is real. Me and my mum were actually speaking about this 3-4 weeks ago. We didn't realise how hard it was going to hit our family, obviously. And we all thought it would be someone else.
Among the casualties, a growing number of NHS staff, dying after working on the front line, fueling demands for more personal protective equipment, PPE. And this email from Kingston Hospital talks of a national shortage of gowns, saying, "We anticipate reaching the end of our supply of disposable gowns by tomorrow. Reusable gowns will be issued and staff are asked to name and keep them and to wash them down." The government has said it is providing huge quantities of equipment. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, has suggested that staff might be wasting it. And he also questioned where the victims became infected.
The work is going on to establish whether they caught coronavirus in the line of duty whilst at work, or whether, like so many other people in the rest of their lives, it's obviously quite difficult to work that out.
But research by the British Medical Association shows more than half of doctors working in high-risk environments said they were short of face masks or had none available. Around 2/3 said they didn't have eye protection. And more than half said they were being pressured into working in a high-risk area despite not having the adequate gear to protect them.
Doctors are also human beings. They don't want to become ill. They don't want their lives to be at risk. And what is really worrying us is the numbers of healthcare workers who have tragically died. So doctors are naturally afraid. But the one thing that is important is to give them the protection. And that's something the government owes us.
So at today's government briefing, ministers and officials were repeatedly pushed on when there'd be enough personal protective equipment.
It's absolutely critical that we get PPE out to all those working at the front line so that they not only are protected but they feel safe.
This question is bound to keep coming up as long as health workers and many others feel they're not getting the support they need as the outbreak continues.
In China, many people say the huge system of couriers plays a crucial role to help make lockdown bearable. Now the country is opening up again, but delivery services continue to play a large role in just how consumers are getting their goods.
As millions of people stayed home during the peak of China's outbreak, Niu Weibing stayed out on the streets. He's part of China's delivery army, widely seen here as vital when cities shut down, helping people stay indoors and reduce the spread of coronavirus.
During the peak of the outbreak, my deliveries were up by a third. I was doing close to 300 per day. Everyone seemed to be buying disinfectant.
Usually, couriers enter apartment blocks and deliver to the door, but authorities banned them from going in. They stopped delivering face-to-face and instead offered contactless deliveries, using lockers to leave parcels or placing them on stands outside compound gates for residents to collect later.
Our company has given us protective gear like gloves and disinfectant. We sanitize our vehicles. They also take our temperature daily.
Temperature checks have become normal everywhere in China, including on deliveries. Even McDonald's tells you the temperature of the people who made your meal.
So both the chef and the delivery driver under 37.3.
As China's government finally admitted the severity of the coronavirus outbreak in late January, people across the country quickly cleared shop shelves of masks and sanitizer. But the toilet paper and food panic buying that hit Hong Kong and then Australia didn't happen here. The reliable supply of groceries and meals from China's army of couriers is widely seen as a key reason. The company that runs this sorting centre, JD, says the delivery volumes of staples like milk, cooking oil, flour and instant noodles were more than double the normal amount during the lockdown. Every day, tens of thousands of boxes move through this sorting centre. And even during the peak of China's outbreak, the workers were still here, keeping the goods moving.
We are working through the whole virus period to make the supply chain in a good situation.
Even in hardest hit Wuhan, where delivery services were suspended in the heaviest lockdown of all, robot couriers continued to deliver, although in reality, humans still did the bulk of the work. Either way, it's clear, like in China, Australians will be relying more than ever on delivery to make the shutdowns work.
China is obviously a huge country, huge population. But when you talk about supply chains, I honestly believe that the supply chains are quite advanced here in Australia. Obviously, geographically, we're challenged because of some of the remoteness that we have here.
Australia's supermarket chains have already run up against the limits of home delivery, halting some online orders when they initially ran out of supplies due to panic buying. And alongside food delivery services like Uber Eats and Deliveroo, DHL's Oceania chief Gary Edstein says his staff are taking extra precautions.
Obviously, the focus is on safety, Bill, and what we're doing is we're providing, again, all those requirements such as personal protective equipment, gloves, masks. We're also doing temperature checks as well.
Australian companies can never hope to match the scale of China's delivery giants, which rely on low-cost labour, high-density living and huge populations.
You're with Sunday's News. Next, we'll take a look at what's happening in sport. Godwin, what's on the lineup for Tricker Sports?
Thanks, Jeremy. Evening all. PNG Football Association has announced all football activities will remain suspended until June. That story after the break in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. PNG Football Association has announced all football activities will remain suspended until June. This decision was made following the current stand taken by the government and with advice from the Office of the Executive Director of Papua New Guinea Sports Foundation.
In a memo sent out by the Office of the Executive Director of PNG Sports Foundation, outlining all national sporting federations in Port Moresby, Goroka and Lae using PNG Sports Foundation sporting facilities and venues will continue to be locked down for an extended period of 2 months to manage the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic.
All we need to is police them.
Papua New Guinea Football Association General Secretary Demirit Milang said PNG FA is taking the same approach the government and PNG Sports Foundation is taking in order to contain the spread of the virus. He said PNG FA has a part to play to reduce the spread of the virus, and daily engagement with others will determine whether they contain or spread the virus. The Kumu Petroleum National Soccer League matches has also remained suspended until the board can meet to decide the next course of action. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. UFC officials are pressing ahead with plans for a radical event on an island despite the indefinite cancellation of all its scheduled events.
UFC 249 on April 18 is the latest to be canned. It was set to be held on a remote location in California, but the company remains committed to what's been dubbed Fight Island.
Laid off at the UFC. Everybody's good. We will be the first sport back. Fight Island is real. It's a real thing. The infrastructure is being built right now.
Dana White says he cancelled UFC 249 after talking to broadcaster ESPN and parent company Disney.
And that ends Trukai Sports, the weather forecast for the next 24 hours when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by Money Plus. With you always.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. Southern region, all centers are mostly fine. Over to the Momase region, in Lae, partly cloudy with late night showers or two. Madang, partly cloudy with a shower or two. Wuak, partly cloudy with few showers, while Vanimo to experience showers and thunderstorms. Over to the New Guinea Islands, in Lorengau, mostly fine apart from early morning showers or two. KVN, Buka, Kokopo and Rabao, mostly fine to partly cloudy. Kimbe, partly cloudy with a shower or two. And finally, in the Highlands region, all centers experiencing cloudy periods with a few showers tonight, then morning fog. Forecast for small crafts for the next 24 hours. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border to Daru to Yule Island to Hood Point, Arama Coast, with waters of Summer Island and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of East Cape to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, with waters of Finschhafen through Vitius-Dampier Straits to CSC Islands to Long Island, with waters of Long Island to Madang, to Bogia to Wuak to Aitape, to northern PNG Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and the waters of New Island, east-west New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas: Coral Seas slight to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots. Solomon Seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Seas slight with northeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Pacific Ocean slight with northeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by Money Plus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Easter Sunday, the 12th of April 2020. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, a pleasant viewing. Good night.